Welcome to the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast with Vicki Noethling. You are about to discover impactful lessons that help you grow as an individual, grow your confidence, and find the positive and good within you, so you powerfully and authentically become the best version of yourself. Be sure you visit our website at www.findyourleadershipconfidence.com. While you're there, subscribe to us via your favorite network. Now tune in, get ready, and enjoy the journey of emerging as a leader of exception in the 21st century.
Welcome, everyone, to the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast. I'm your host, Vicki Noethling, coming to you from Roswell, Georgia. The goal of this podcast is to bring topics and guests that will empower you to become that confident leader and take your business and your life to the next level. Today, I am very excited to welcome Bennett Maxwell to my stage, I guess I'll call it. Bennett is a multifaceted entrepreneur renowned for his innovative approach to business and commitment to enhancing the entrepreneurial landscape. He is currently the driving force behind Dirty Dough Cookies, a fast-growing, thriving national cookie restaurant, and 80-plus stores open and dozens more set to launch this year. Maxwell's professional journey spans diverse industries from real estate in Utah to the co-founding and eventual successful sale of Switch to solar. In addition to his entrepreneur endeavors, he is sought-after speaker and frequently shares valuable insights to the media. Maxwell is also the host of the Deeper Than Dough podcast, where he started in 2023, and it focuses on finding joy and fulfillment in life. And if you see his cookies, you'll know why. From adversity to innovation is the theme of our podcast today, so please join me in welcoming Bennett Maxwell. Bennett, so excited. And I'm telling you, his cookies are to die for.
Appreciate it, Nikki. I need to shorten up that bio though. Let me tell you that. Anyways, I appreciate the intro.
So we start out with two easy questions before you get into the meat of this, and that is, where do you live, and where do you call home?
Yeah, I live in Pleasant Grove, Utah. It's about 30 minutes south of Salt Lake, and I grew up in Orem, Utah, 40 minutes south of Salt Lake. So I'm Utah
You're
County,
a
Utah Valleys.
What do you call it?
Home.
Is it Utahian or
a Utahn? Unless you're in Idaho, then Idaho people call, well, I don't know if I could say that these days. They call us Utards.
That's too
so depending on where you're at, that's our name.
Too good. So I did give more of all of the wonderful positive things that you've done in your life, but we know that when you got out of college or turned 21, what you thought you were going to do may not have been what the plan was for you. And so talk about all those pivots and turns in the path that led you to what you do today and why you do what you do.
Well, I'm still the same way as far as like, I don't know what I'm doing next ever. I take it a few months at a time. I got into sales early on. I started with Cutco right after high school, which was a really good experience on like learning how to sell and ask for referrals and get comfortable with people. Being in Utah, I was raised Mormon, and I started a 2-year Mormon mission. I got sent to Tijuana, Mexico. So I was there for 2 years, knocking doors, trying to figure out Spanish at the same time. But it led really nicely into right after that, it's door-to-door sales. So if you come home from a mission in Utah, everybody and their dog has a summer sales company, and they're like, hey, come sell for us. You're going to move out for the summer, and we're going to go knock doors and sell pest control or satellite or solar or alarm systems, whatever. And it's just like all right here in Utah Valley. It's just very, very sales oriented. So I jumped into that, did that for a handful of years, which led me into solar. Started a solar company with my brother, Loved that. Really getting to like the business ownership side. And then I saw Dirty Dough. It was a single cookie location. I purchased it with the intent of franchising it. And then in the last 2 years, we've opened up 80 some odd locations and sold 400 plus locations and trying to figure out all of the, I mean, there's a pivot every single year.
Yeah.
There's a pivot every single year because yeah, 3 years ago I didn't think anything of cookies or franchising, and yet here I am.
Yeah, and it's such a different mindset now when, I'm 66. So when I grew up, it was like, what job are you going to have for the rest of your life? And even when I joined UPS way in 91, the managing partners, they are the board members, they had like 35 years and 45 years with the
Yeah,
company. Now, one thing, the company is large enough that I always say that I had like 15 jobs at
yeah,
UPS over the 27 years I was there. But like my grandfather, he did one thing for till he got his gold watch at 25 years. And I thought, gosh, now it's you
it's
have
different.
you have tons of jobs. I mean, and I'm retired, but I have three different things that I do now. So I think it's kind of exciting, and it lets you know that you really don't need to plan a 5-year plan
Yeah.
because in 5 years it's going to change.
Yeah, I mean,
So
my plan, I felt like there was that pressure growing up of like pick something that you're gonna do forever. Don't
yeah.
don't pick something that you're gonna do for a few years, but forever. So I was like, I like kids, grew up one of 9 kids. I'm like very used to kids, will have a lot of nieces and nephews. Doctors make money, right? And they're well respected. Pediatrician, like that was it. I didn't consider that I don't like blood. And this is 3.5 years into pre-med that I finally
um
drop out. And I'm just like, what am I doing? I don't even want this. I just chose it to so people would stop asking me what the hell I'm doing.
yeah.
And then since then, yeah, it's just I guess that has left. When you have some sort of business success, I think people stop bothering you as much. When I dropped out of
Mhm.
college, that was kind of a big deal.
Oh yeah, I'll bet. Yeah, and it's true. I still see, I work with the youth teaching them public speaking and confidence, and I still see a lot of parents like driving their kids, be a doctor, be a lawyer, be, something that's supposedly going to make you a lot of money, but it's like, is that really what
Especially with AI coming out. It's like you
yeah.
don't want to be a doctor or a lawyer. AI is doing all of that yesterday, and imagine in 5 years.
Mhm.
So yeah, I'm 31, so I'd probably be finishing residency right now, $200,000 of debt, just like, okay, let's go, guys. I got 5 more years before AI replaces most of my job.
Yeah. I mean, it really is. And so we're talking about going from adversity to an innovation. And I think we tend to want to be safe, and when things don't go right, then we feel like we're failures. But failures, I think, really uh, helps us to do things better because we see, oh, that didn't work. What can I tweak? What can I change? And so instead of looking at adversity as a bad thing, I think it can be a fuel for innovation because you're trying to figure out, okay, what can I do differently that will get me a better result than what I did originally?
Exactly. Do you want me to jump into a little
Hmm.
adversity story? Okay. Well, this is the
Yeah.
one that we're known for. I have adversity stories every day, but I'll do the big one. May of 2022, so about 2.5 years ago, we were getting ready to launch our first store. Super excited about it. We threw up some billboards, Dirty Dough coming soon. Um, and then a few weeks after that, still before the store opened, we get a lawsuit from Crumble Cookies. Right after they put up billboards in response to our billboard saying they sell 1 million cookies a day. And I'm like, 1 million cookies a day, $3.50 a cookie. That's $1 billion company. Anyways, now we're getting sued. Now I'm getting sued. Never gotten sued, never even read a lawsuit. So it's like, shoot, we don't even have a store open. Like, how am I going to battle this? Whatever. And then I read through the lawsuit, and it was a silly lawsuit because it turns out you can sue anybody for any reason. You don't have to I mean, you just make up whatever, file it, and then as soon
Mhm.
as it's filed, that person can no longer get an SBA loan. That person, if they're a
Oh.
franchise, they have to disclose it on their franchise disclosure document. So everybody
Oh.
looking into it will also see, hey, Dirty Doe's getting sued by a billion-dollar company. Anyway, so they sue us. I read through the lawsuit, and it's silly things like Dirty Dough uses whimsical cookie themed designs, and so does Crumble. And I'm like, yeah, and so does everybody for the last 50
Yeah.
years. Whimsical and cookies, you guys didn't invent any of that. Okay. Then they say Dirty Dough has the same box shape as us. We both have square shapes, or sorry, rectangle shapes. I'm like, okay.
Every
And then they
cookie
put
place
side by
does
side.
too.
Yeah, it's like, okay, cool. Then they put side by side pictures. They had 6 products side by side. Their cookie with sprinkles next to our cookie with sprinkles. Their cookie was cinnamon, our cookie was cinnamon. Their vanilla ice cream in a black crumble cup with our vanilla ice cream in an orange Dirty Dough cup. Like, hey, look, Judge, these guys, it's too similar. So, anyways, get the lawsuit. This is stupid. We're just gonna have to fight it and hopefully, hopefully
Get a
figure
judge
out how
that
to pay for
sees.
it, right?
Mm.
Um, First thing that we did though, well, I think it was about 6 weeks in, a local news station picked it up and they said, Crumble suing Dirty Dough. Um, so I'm like, crap. Now I like everybody knows. Now I'm gonna have to kind of tell my side of the story, what at least my opinion on it. So the first thing was just being out there and not hiding from it. I guess I couldn't hide from it, right? It was already public.
Mhm.
But I posted that news article and I tagged Crumble and I was like, Crumble thinks that they own the cookie industry or something like that. $1 billion cookie company picking on smaller companies. Watch out, Granny. They might be coming for you if you were using sprinkles, something stupid like that. And then the next thing was we did billboards because again, we had already done some Dirty Dough coming soon. And then Crumble's like, we're the best cookie company ever with 50 billboards. So we responded and we did cookies so good we're being sued. And our cookies don't crumble with the competition. And let your taste buds be the judge. Just kind of tongue in cheek, funny
Yeah.
billboards. And that helped us out a lot. It really put us like David versus Goliath. Here's Crumble,
Yeah.
billion-dollar company. Dirty Dough has one store open at the time. Like what's going on here? So we got a lot of public support from that. But more than anything, we got on CNBC and Good Morning America, which brought in millions of eyes, which then converted into franchise sales. So we quickly went from, I think when we got sued, we were at 60 franchises sold. In the next 6 months, we went up to 290. And most of
Wow.
that was from the reaction to the adversity of the lawsuit. Since it's all been settled, it's been over a year now since it's been settled. So great, but it was still a lot, and it was still a few $100,000 to say, hey, this is silly. This is a silly lawsuit.
Yeah. And also the stress and frustration that you have to go through too. So on
Absolutely.
your website, you talk about your tagline is proudly unique inside and out. And you say it refers to cookies and your people. So tell us more about that.
Yeah. So 3 years ago, right before I mean, right when I was jumping into into Dirty Dough, I just sold my solar company. And it was a great ride. It was short. It was only 18 months, but it was fun. I worked myself to death. I got up to 310 pounds. I'm 5'8", so I was just like a little ball.
Oh,
Um,
gosh. Yeah.
I have 3 kids, an amazing wife. I had what I thought was a good relationship with my wife because we didn't ever fight, but I guess that's not all it takes to have a good relationship. But here I was, I put all my personal goals in relationships and health aside to be a millionaire before 30 because I have no idea, honestly, just because it sounded good. Like, really, I don't know why. But I sacrificed everything to achieve that goal, sell the solar company, achieve it, feel amazing. And then what happens is your brain is designed to go back to its base levels of dopamines to then give you motivation, go to do the next thing. So I saw myself immediately setting the $2 million goal, like within a week or two. And I'm like, oh crap, I'm going to do this for the rest of my life. So at that point, I was like, I need to figure out why what I say is important to me, health and fitness and family. Why doesn't that match up with my calendar, right? Why I'm not spending that time.
Yeah.
So I started seeing a professional, and who's a professional at imagining or managing emotions and emotional states? Well, therapist. And that was like one of the best things that I did. So from there, I had to reevaluate like what I wanted out of life. And it
Yeah.
wasn't the $1 million anymore. And I narrowed it down to joy and fulfillment. So finding joy and fulfillment despite life's dirtiness.
Hmm.
For me, don't wait to sell the solar company to find that joy and fulfillment. And I wanted to integrate that into Dirty Dough. So we looked at the competition. Crumble or Chip or these other gourmet cookie companies. And most of them have like a pretty plain cookie with just a lot of frosting on the top. And that I'm like, that's kind of like Instagram, right? It's kind of like life. Like
Right.
there's a little bit there, but we dress the hell out of it and make it try
Hmm.
to seem like it's something almost it's not. So can we focus on the inside of the cookie? So we started making stuffed cookies and then 3-layer cookies. What's a 3-layer cookie? It's like a hot fudge dough on the outside, a chocolate chip dough in the middle with a caramel injection. And then I drew that correlation to life and trying to tie in that mission statement of these cookies are like life, right? They're dirty, they're messy, sometimes they're ugly, but man, they're still amazing on the inside, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we peppered that messaging all over inside the stores, on their packaging, on the website, things like that.
So your people, how do you select the people that get that follow that culture?
The following the culture in each franchise store is definitely very hard because each franchisee is hiring their own employees and ultimately in
Yes.
charge of that. Um, on the corporate side, I guess what I'll speak to more of is the concept and the messaging. So you can't walk into a Dirty Dough without seeing that. But on the outside window, it says we care about your feelings or in touch with our feelings, kind of play on words. And then you walk in there and you'll see the oven, the counters, and then the ovens. And above the ovens in giant letters, it says what's on the inside matters most. And then you'll grab a box of cookies. And on your way out, if you read it, it says life gets messy and that's okay. So we're trying to be up in front, up and center in all of the messaging and the branding of like, hey guys,
Yeah.
life's not perfect, but that's okay. It
Yeah.
doesn't need to look perfect for it to be enjoyed. And I do feel like that's a philosophy that is true. And I'm proud that we've incorporated it into the business.
Awesome. So whenever you just talked about the franchisees, and before I worked for UPS, I worked for Arby's, which was franchises. And so I learned a lot about franchisees at that time. And then at UPS, we have the UPS store franchises. So there's a certain kind of people that are successful as franchisees. When someone approaches you, do you know immediately, yeah, you're going to be successful, or maybe this isn't right for you?
Me for sure, no. I never know anything. I suck at hiring. I'm not, no, but I'll tell
You
you what
got
everybody else
people.
says. I hired a CEO right when we franchised. She ran a company called Maui Wowie Smooths and Coffee. She was the founder,
Yeah.
grew it to
Yeah.
600 something locations. So it's a lot of it relying on her, or our current CEO is the former CEO of Jimmy John's, relying on their experience. And like one of the questions that Jill would always ask, and she said that this was her most important question is, are you willing to do whatever it takes to make this succeed? So
Mhm.
it's more of the grit rather than the experience.
Yeah.
Um, you definitely want somebody with experience, and people that have been in food franchising in an Arby's are going to appreciate the Dirty Dough model so much better because I will send you a cookie. You have 500 square feet, one oven, put the cookie in the oven and press start. Everything is formulated for the same time, temperature and fan speed, and your ovens are programmed. So it's like somebody with Arby's are like, wait, I'm not gonna have waste and all of that, low labor, their eyes kind of wide open. But then they also have well, this is what we did at Arby's, right? And this is what I did at Arby's, and this is what I did at Arby's. So it's kind of a give and take. But
Yeah.
generally speaking, you're looking for somebody just with the ability to just like, I'm in it and I'm wanting to be a part of it, rather than just like, hey, I'm going to buy this for my son or my daughter to run and hopefully they do a decent job.
Yeah, I think that's two good points because some of the adversity that you may get as a franchisor is that the people you bring in uh, may or may not, as you say, follow the prescribed way to do things. And it seems like yours is almost push and play. So that's why make life more complicated.
Yeah.
But I have experience of some folks that are just really they are micromanaging, and uh, it it's not really. Then the whole goal of a franchisee is to make sure that that business kind of runs on its own. And if
Yeah.
you're putting yourself in there all the time, it kind of adds to um, giving you more work than you need because now you have disgruntled employees or you have to deal with HR kind of stuff that you really shouldn't have to. You should just need to make sure that everything is everybody is just doing what you told them they should do, and trusting that you hired good people, right?
Yeah, and that's the beauty of franchising, even if, not just food, but like a UPS, right? It's like I want to start a company, I have some money to invest, I want to be kind of in this space. But man, that's a lot of risk, right? I have to go get customers, I have to build a brand and get people to trust me and sign a lease and a 10-year guarantee. Or I could go to UPS, they've already done all that, and I'll just pay them for their system. And then I was already planning on paying for everything to start it up. But what's cool about that is you have people that are good operators. Operationally, they're good baker, they're good plumber, but maybe they're not the best business person just due to lack of experience. So you plug them into a UPS franchise model. And I don't know much about it, but I'm sure it's amazing because they've been around forever. It's like plug and play. This is working for hundreds, if not thousands of people right now. So it's probably going to work for you if you follow our system,
Yeah.
which is really cool.
So what are some pros and cons then, if as we're talking about owning a franchise, in your experience, like um,
As a
even it
franchisee or owning the franchisor part.
as if, let's start with just you being the owner of this franchise,
Okay.
and making sure that everything still, you don't want to be tied down to your business either, right?
No.
So, what are some pros and cons? What are the good
Yeah.
things?
So
And
the pros of franchising, because I bought the company, it was one store, and it was like, do I want a franchise or do you just want to grow slowly? So hyper growth or fast growth is definitely a pro in franchising because we've opened up 80 stores in 2 years. If each one costs 250,000, $20 million, right? So I can go figure out how to get $20 million and go open them up myself. And if I did, then how many employees is that as well? Like it's way
yeah,
more work. It's not just the capital side. Um, Now, what are the benefits of scaling a little bit quicker? Well, you get the brand recognition. Because we centralize our cookie production, you get economies of scale. So if we're ordering, a few hundred pounds of flour to a few truckloads of flour, everybody
yeah,
benefits.
yeah.
So I think that like just spreading out that brand awareness and getting economies of scale quickly, I think franchising is really good for I mean, there's so many legal laws, and it's all about how not to get sued is
Hmm.
what I'm learning. It's like, here's a location. Do you approve this location? And it's like, I have no objections with the location because you don't want to say I approve the location because if you approve it and for whatever reason it doesn't do well, even if it's the owner's fault because they just never opened up their doors, it's like, hey, you approved this location, it's crappy. So a lot of it is that risk mitigation. And everybody that I've talked with in the franchise space is very big into like, hey, you have to make sure you get sued as the least amount of times possible, I guess. So I would say
Yeah.
that's the downside is there's a lot on the line legally speaking. It's all regulated by the FTC.
I think so. One of the things that I also saw was the local store marketing. Whenever I was with Arby's, we really had programs for that because you talked about the franchise Zor coming or the franchisee coming in. They don't really. They might have had business background and had a boss telling them what to do, but it wasn't necessarily in marketing and
Yeah,
public relations. And you really, to get people in the door, you need to have that kind of thing. And corporate wise, you can do so much, but you really need to have, just like social media, have people know, like, and trust you as that person to go to instead of the store down the street, right? So local store marketing was always somewhat of a challenge, I think, for franchises. And
it
um,
still is.
yeah,
That's the number one thing that everybody's still looking for. Like, here's how to spend our national ad budget. We could be on social
yeah,
media and pay for, but how do we make sure that the Roswell store has traffic driving there? And most of that is coming to the franchisee. That's their responsibility. And then here's the templates and what we use. Make sure that you're on Uber Eats, DoorDash, and Grubhub. Make sure you're giving out samples and you're visiting schools. Make sure that you're giving out samples to businesses, promoting catering. And
mhm,
anyways, there's so many. The cool thing about cookies is you could show up like anywhere in the world with a warm box of cookies and you'll be received, you'll be well received. And then that opens the door for the conversation. Oh, how often do you guys have events? Things like that. So couldn't agree with you more on the importance of the local store marketing and the difficulty of solving that.
Right. So we talked about some of the challenges you faced and overcome in this last year, though, as you continue to grow and evolve and spread out. What are you facing now, and that you really didn't anticipate as you
Yeah.
grew?
This year's been the hardest year for me for sure. It all came together last month when I exited, but up until July, it was very, very hard. And the challenge was I started raising money and I don't have any experience raising money. Started raising money about 2 years ago because it was, well, I wanted to vertically integrate everything. I want to own the facility and the machines and the trucks. And we did that, but it was very expensive. And in order to do that, we'd averaged about $200,000 every month that we were spending more than what we were making. So you're always raising money. And it's like, okay, now I raised money. Okay, sweet. I got $1 million and okay, that gives me 5 months, right? To go get the other million.
Yeah.
So there's always I got a month left of runway. I got 3 months of runway left. And then what does the brain do, right? It goes straight to the end. Okay, well, what if it doesn't happen? Well, then this is going to happen. You're going to let down all these people and these franchisees and these employees. And then you're going to go bankrupt and then you're going to go bankrupt personally. And dealing with that every day was freaking hell.
Yeah.
Coming through that adversity, I mean, that was 10 times harder than the lawsuit. Coming through on that and I guess getting through and just realizing there's not that much and there's so much that is out of your control and there's so much that we stress over that doesn't need to be stressed over. So anyways, I because it was so hard, I was really able to focus on myself mentally and physically. I got in a lot better shape, a lot more energy, and a lot more, I guess, mindfulness practices so I can actually deal with all this stress. So anyways, now I'm like reaping the benefits. I'm feeling superhuman. I'm like, throw anything at me. I got through that. I could get through anything. But it's been a hard year, very hard year.
So, I imagine, though, you're not alone now in this, that you are not a one-person show. How important is it for you to delegate and trust that the people you brought on and hired are going to be able to do the things that need to be done the same way you would do it or better?
Yeah. That's hard. At least the better portion. I look at it as like, what is my value per hour if I'm on a sales call? And I calculated that because I was in door-to-door sales straight commission. So it's like, okay, if I'm knocking doors for pest control, I'm worth this amount. So I look at hiring somebody. I think a lot of entrepreneurs don't hire people because they want it. It's more of the perfectionist. I want somebody to do it as good as me or better. And that's just a lot of times not going to happen or in the time that happens. So it's like, okay, well, I have a few dozen people that I've worked with out of the Philippines. It's like, well, if it takes them 4 hours to do a task that it takes me 1 hour to, I'm still going to assign it to them, right? Because that's still going to cost me $20, $5 an hour. So very important. There's a book called The E Myth Revisited. Have you ever heard of that one, Nikki?
No.
The E stands for entrepreneur. And the myth is, I'm an entrepreneur. And why is that a myth? It's because you just own your own job. So the example in the book is actually a baker. So you have an expert baker, and now I want to open up my own bakery. Well, I know nothing about bookkeeping. I know nothing about marketing, like you mentioned, right? So it's how to get away from working in your business and on your business. And in order to do that, the activity that they do, and I did this with my brother in the solar company. That's why we exited within 18 months. You build your organization chart on how you want it to look in 2 years, 5 years, whatever. And then you start position by position, building out the standard operating procedures, and then moving to the next role. So like for me, I was the sales rep, the sales manager, the sales regional, the CFO, and the bookkeeper, right? So what do I start with first? I'm going to start with the sales rep first. What hours do they work? How many, how much do they get paid? What are their incentives? And then I build all of that out. hire a sales rep, graduate to a manager. So anyways, that strategy, the E-Myth Revisited, I think is very necessary, at least if you're trying to do like a hyper growth business. That's why I hired a CEO, day one of franchising. Same thing, delegation. Like, I know I'm good at sales. I'm not good at running a food business. I just don't, I don't even know how to do it yet. I'm still learning on how to do that. So it's kind of staying in your lane and delegate the rest. Completely agree with that. But it's always a balance.
But I think too, it is important to not be an absentee franchisee or owner, because that's when things can go south.
Yeah, and working on your business and in your business, either way, you're there, right? It's just working on your business is, I'm talking with the school to see how we can do a booster program as a fundraiser. Working in your business is checking out a customer, right? I could pay an employee $12 an hour to ring up a customer. I probably can't pay that $12 an hour employee to go make that partnership with the high school football program.
Right, exactly. So time has flown by. Enjoyed talking with you so much, and I'm sure the audience has other questions and things that they'd like to know more. So as always, I'm going to share with you my slide that has contact information for Bennett. So if you are just listening, you know the drill. You should have been taking notes all along. Go quickly, grab that paper, pencil, paper, pen, whatever it is, and be able to write down this information. It will be on my Vicki Noethling YouTube channel, as well as my findyourleadershipconfidence.com. So as always, I'll read the information for those listening. The website is bennettmaxwell.com. When you click on that, you will be able to access some of his other websites, especially to see that Dirty Dough one with all the pictures of the cookies that are so awesome. LinkedIn is his name as well, Bennett Maxwell. Instagram is at Bennett Maxwell 35. And you can check him out on Dirty Dough's Instagram, which is at dirty-dough with initial cap for that. I'm going to let Bennett talk to you a little bit about things that you'll find on his website, as well as links of resources that might be helpful to you. And as always, you can also, he'll tell you what kind of things he might put out on Instagram and or LinkedIn that will entice you to check him out a little bit more. So Bennett, it's all yours.
Thank you. The website has links to all the social medias. Craveworthy is the company that acquired Dirty Dough, and they have another handful of food franchise brands on there as well that we help promote that are super cool. I do try to post once or twice a day, mainly about business, work-life balance, mental health, and then the podcast is on there as well, which really focuses on setting emotional goals and finding the joy and fulfillment rather than the material goals.
Awesome. Well, Bennett, it's been such a pleasure talking to you. Loved hearing your stories about the adversity that you went through and came out on the other side because of your innovation and your perseverance to not stay down when you get knocked down. So awesome job. As always, thank you for being a great guest, and reminder to everyone that life is a journey and it's up to you to enjoy the ride. This is Vicki Noethling signing off.
Thank you for tuning into the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast with Vicki Noethling, where we share impactful lessons that help you grow as an individual, grow your confidence, and find the positive and good within you so you powerfully and authentically become the best version of yourself. Remember to visit our website at www.findyourleadershipconfidence.com and enjoy even more great episodes like this one. Again, while you're here, subscribe to us via your favorite network. We look forward to seeing you next time on the Find Your Leadership Confidence podcast.